Well, hello and welcome to this week's edition of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. I'm your host, Chris Green, Director of Network Expansion for Avoya Travel. Thank you so much for your time for tuning in. We appreciate your support. We hope you get something positive out of today's broadcast, because that's the whole point of On Deck with Avoya, to provide you an opportunity to learn more about the #1 host agency in the travel industry and see if that kind of piques your interest to want to find out more, get connected, find out about our story, see if it fits in with your goals for the travel industry. We have an amazing story to tell, so make sure at the end of the broadcast you get our contact information, reach out to us through avoyanetwork.com and get that process started. We've got a great show lined up for you today as we welcome back to the show our Senior Vice President of Partnerships, Ashley Hunter, for a fantastic Avoya Insider segment today. We're going to discuss so many great topics, including the recent news about Avoya Travel joining the Travel Leaders Network. We're excited to get an update as the details of that new relationship are starting to come into a focus. We also plan on touching base about events on the 2023 Avoya Travel calendar, including a big scoop. Yeah, you heard it first here kind of news that Ashley will share with us here in just a little bit. We'll also discuss the value of partnerships and how that can make a huge difference in your agency, and we'll get Ashley's views on the long-term health of leisure travel and our whole travel industry. I can't wait to welcome Ashley back to the show here in just a few minutes. We also have our Eye on the Industry segment coming up shortly. We'll talk about political turmoil in Peru and how that shut down Machu Picchu indefinitely. We're also following stories about Seabourn Venture and its need for a short dry dock fix, causing it to miss a few sailings. And we'll talk about the latest restaurants slated to open at Disney's Hollywood Studios in March. All of that comes up in just a minute. And we'll wrap up the show like normal with our latest promotion news, a quick recap of the new travel agent education powered by Avoya. Wow, what a success that is. Resources available to those in the Avoya network, another reason you'd want to join the #1 host agency. And of course, all the ways you can stay in touch and get that journey started. So let's kick it off. Today's On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update, our Eye on the Industry feature. And this is a story we sourced from Travel Pulse. Travel entry to Machu Picchu, the famed portion of the Andes mountain range, has been suspended until further notice at this time. Now, according to CNN, unrest in the country of Peru has led authorities to make the decision to curtail the number of visitors. The limitations went into effect last Sunday, the 22nd of January. It'll last at least several weeks, according to officials. Tourists who had tickets to climb the mountain from January 21st on are eligible for a refund. National police were called in to quell the violence that erupted in the wake of that decision on Thursday. Peru Rail suspended services to and from Machu Picchu. So we're going to continue to follow this ongoing story. And no doubt, at least for some travel advisors who have clients slated in the next little bit for Machu Picchu, definitely going to cause disruptions in the travel sector. In a story from Travel Weekly, Seabourn has canceled 3 April cruises on the Seabourn Venture, so the new ship can enter dry dock to undergo repairs to its stabilizers. The expedition ship is currently sailing its inaugural season in Antarctica. Seabourn said the ship is designed to safely sail without the stabilizers. Yes, say that 10 times fast. Although they lessen the ship's movement under certain sea and navigational conditions, the line has canceled sailings that were scheduled to depart on April 7th, the 16th, and the 28th. The ship was supposed to sail in the Amazon, then to Cape Verde in Africa, Greenwich, and then on to London. The line did not reveal where the ship would be dry docked at. And finally, a kind of a fun story, certainly going to hurt your pocketbook if you're headed to Disney, but what doesn't? This one also out of Travel Weekly, a Toy Story themed restaurant set to open in Disney's Hollywood Studios in March. Roundup Rodeo Barbecue will open in Toy Story Land at Disney's Hollywood Studios on the 23rd of March. Disney is calling the Toy Story themed table service restaurant a one-of-a-kind dining experience, and reservations will be required to eat there. It will be Toy Story Land's first table service restaurant. Now, the whole premise behind the restaurant is the guests will feel like they've been shrunk down to the size of a toy, according to Disney. And the backstory, Andy's created a rodeo arena for his toys. Guests will become honorary toys as they enter the space, which depicts a toy rodeo in action. Life-size figures will help lend a hand to the atmosphere. Guests must have park admission, park reservations already lined up for Disney's Hollywood Studios. on the date of their restaurant reservation. No doubt this will be a big hit with Disney fans, Toy Story fans of all ages. All right, so we're ready for my favorite segment of the day, where we get a chance to sometimes introduce you to a new team member. We've had the chance to do that the last couple of weeks. Sometimes we get to welcome in an old guest, somebody who's just been a fantastic guest in the past. We're on deck with Avoya, and that's the case today with our Avoya Insider segment. We had just great, engagement the last time our special guest was on. So welcome in our Avoya Insider special guest this week for On Deck with Avoya, Ashley Hunter, Senior Vice President of Partnerships. Ashley, great to see you. So great to have you back on the show.
So excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me back. I guess I did an okay job on the last one, so I'm excited to be back for this one.
You and your team are always welcome here at On Deck with Avoya. You do a fantastic job. And before we get to all the current exciting news, can you give us a quick recap for those that may have missed your past episode on your industry experience and how you became the SVP of Partnerships for Avoya?
Definitely. So I have been in the travel industry since 2006, and my entire career has been under the Avoya umbrella. So I actually started with Avoya back when they were Anderson Travel, and then they started to migrate into America's Vacation Center, and then America's Vacation Center into Avoya. So it's been really amazing to see the growth. I've seen, the changes in the leadership here at Avoya, generation to generation, and then with our new private equity investment from Certares. And I actually started out in doing public relations and events, a lot of areas of marketing, copy and things like that, and then transitioned full-time into the supplier partnership side in 2012. And so I've been leading that team for over a decade now. I just did the math on that in my head. And so I oversee that team, our amazing promotions department. Still have my hand in events. It's a passion of mine, but a great team there. And some new things that we're going to be doing on the content side as well. So always changing, always, taking on some new things, and what keeps it exciting.
I mean, that's kind of travel in a nutshell, though, right? I mean, if you're a travel professional and you get too comfortable in your title and your role, well, guess what? It's probably about to switch up on you.
Yeah, that's one of my rules for any new employee that starts here. And I said, I can give you two guarantees in life working at Avoya. One is that no day will ever be the same. The second one is that you will never be bored. So there's those two. And then the other thing that I prepare them for is that don't get married to where you sit and what you do, because we move around too much. We are, taking on new challenges, and you and I both know that, Chris. That just different things that we've done in our careers here.
Growth is exciting, and it certainly comes with change. Ashley, how would you describe Avoya Travel's philosophy when it comes to partnerships, and how does that have a benefit for those in the Avoya network?
Fantastic question. So our model really, and our philosophy is about shared success, which really leans into what we also believe when it comes to the independent agencies. So we're constantly looking at what makes sense for Avoya, what makes sense for the supplier, and what's going to make sense for the independent agency. So whatever we're talking about, a potential contract deal, or where we want suppliers to be investing with us, and what makes sense, it has to make sense for all parties. The commissions levels need to be there. The marketing support needs to be there. And, we're always going to lead with integrity and professionalism. So I want that shared success model. We want to really understand the supplier and what it is that they are looking for, make sure that they understand what levers work in Avoya, and try to find, the perfect match. And sometimes, quite often, or not quite often, but sometimes we do have situations where suppliers really want to jump in, they're a new partner with ours, and they just want to really throw out the dollars that first year. And, from an integrity standpoint, we talk to them about that and say, well, I would love to do that. I don't think it's going to be the best return on investment for you this first year, because this first year we need to get you in front of some of the independent agencies and really work on it. And I'm always looking at the long-term viability of this partnership versus just the short term. If I was focused on the short term, then we would just be looking at, okay, let's bring in a supplier this year, and then maybe they won't, be there with us next year. And suppliers have made that comment that there's not a lot of people out there that wouldn't take that money that they're throwing at us, whether it's for sponsorship or marketing. And that's where I have to tell them, I was like, well, this is a relationship, and I want to make sure that this is working for us long term. So I'm not looking at the 6-month plan, the 1-year plan. I'm looking at the 5 to 10-year plan. And so I think that really that philosophy trickles down. I mean, we're within our corporate culture here, we're always looking like what makes the most sense for the independent agency, and the independent agencies are looking at what makes the most sense for their clients. They're not always just going to upsell them on something if that's not going to be the right fit, because they know that they could risk losing a client. So I think just that is our approach, and it benefits the individual independent advisors because they are by proxy a part of these relationships, and they're deep rooted. People like doing business with us, and they will tell us that a lot, and I'm like, good, because I want you to feel really bad if you have to tell me bad news. Like, I want it to hurt a little bit, yeah, I want you to feel bad about it, if they have to cut a budget or something. So I hope that answers your question, but
it does, yeah. And it goes full circle too, right? And when you take into account that at Avoya Travel, none of the sales that Avoya generates come from in-house agents that work directly for the company. So when we're talking about increasing, and when we're talking about doing right by a partnership standpoint, if that doesn't make sense in a sales standpoint, then it doesn't matter, because again, all of the sales funnel through the independent, affiliates in our network, which makes us unique and does tie them as vital to that, decision-making process, it would seem.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big things that happened, Ashley, in 2022 was Avoya Travel. We switched consortia partners and joined the Travel Leaders Network. Very exciting news. Now, this, of course, comes on the heels of a 30-plus year relationship with American Express. So I can only imagine the back and forth and the thought process that went into this decision. Can you give us a little perspective on this switch and kind of an update on where we are, and maybe some of the things that we can look forward to as this new relationship really starts to unfold?
Absolutely. This was a big project for myself and my team in 2022. And really, I mean, the American Express network, they decided to sunset their travel representative network. So we were given notice on that. But we were also starting to really evaluate, and we were hearing a lot about different consortia partners out there. And there's some big ones, whether it's Signature, Virtuoso, Travel Leaders Network, are kind of the big three, I would say, and for an agency our size. And so I went through a big, just prospecting and really deep dive and understanding everybody's individual programs, because we've been with American Express for so long. Like you said, I mean, it was over 35 years that we were part of American Express when I joined, 16 years ago. And there were certain things that we meshed well with, and there were certain things that maybe it didn't work with our technology, or we were kind of like pigeonholed into a box and saying, okay, well, you can use this benefit, but only if you do it this exact way. And with our innovation and our own tech, that kind of made some things challenging. So going through the vetting process, we had a lot of deep dive conversations. We wanted to make sure that whoever their top preferred partners really aligned with who our top preferred partners are, so that there were synergies there. We wanted to make sure that there weren't going to be challenges in using our own proprietary technology to access certain programs and elements that they have, and that there would be a way to pull in some of their benefits, like group inventory and certain promotions and things like that, into our interface. So that was a huge piece for us, because we didn't want the network to have to learn a whole new system when they live and breathe in agent power every day. And so we wanted to make sure that there was that technological aptitude between both organizations to be able to work together on that. We also were really looking at, well, what was going to be additive? We went through this part, and some people are like, why do you even need a consortia at your size? You guys do your own marketing, you have your own tech, you have your own group space, you do phenomenally with all of this. So what makes the most sense? And we ventured in and looked a little bit in that as well. But what we decided is there was definitely a reason to partner with a certain with a consortia that was going to be additive to what Avoya had. So I was really looking at it as like, well, what was going to elevate us even more that we wouldn't have to build ourselves. And so we really landed on travel leaders for a couple of reasons. One was their group space and their technology to bring that into our systems. So now we can just have additive groups. So we've already pulled in 3,000 different amenity groups in that is a part of the regular search process. So the independent agency doesn't need to leave our system to go check if there's a headquarter group at TLN. It just pulls in, and so they can see that and be able to quote it out with everything else that we have. So that was a really big, piece. Another part is our marketing department. We're very big digital marketers, but there's a lot of people out there that have done direct mail, for a really long time, and we were really impressed with how the systems worked and the direct mail at Travel Leaders Network. So that is an added benefit. And we started with programs already back in Q4 of 2022. And we have a lot of that flighted out. And so that's an opportunity for the independent agencies is to claim leads, coming from those additional marketing pieces. So that was another big one for us. We also, and this is a little bit of a scoop, but we did a press release not too long ago about Project Eagle, which was going to be, a portion of an AIR program. And so check your news feeds probably in the next week, because there will be some more updates on that that we will be having coming out. That is also an additive to that relationship and what we have. So there's been a lot of things brewing, and as I mentioned at our conference, it's like we lived in the same house for 35 years, and we've needed to unpack, or we needed to pack everything up, and we're moving to this new house, but we need to figure out, okay, are we taking that couch with us? Is the couch going to fit in this new house? No. Okay, do we need to break things down to get it through the door? And so it's been a process, and it'll continue to be a little bit of a process, I think, in 2023, but we're at that tip of the iceberg where we're actually going to really start seeing some things happening and coming in. So I'm excited about that.
And we kind of touched on the philosophy a little bit. So this is kind of a question that maybe you've answered in some ways, but as a follow-up to that, is it fair to assume if I was an agency owner in the Avoya network, which I used to be, so I did give thought to these kind of things, when it's all said and done, all the details are ironed out, is it ultimately going to be a win for my agency, this Travel Leaders Network relationship?
Absolutely. I mean, as I mentioned alone, if you take into account all of this additional group space that they now have to sell. Yes, everybody in TLN has that, but we also have our Avoya Groups program. So we will look at their schedule, and the team's already doing that and picking new groups so that we have more, added amenities, whether it's on the cruise side. There's benefits on, different bonus commission programs and things like that. That would be a part of that program. There will be an enhancement on additional leads coming from that direct mail program. So it's really all the benefits that they had with Avoya, plus, these additive pieces that are coming in. So I really think it gives us a higher level of potential market share, and it elevates us even more with the suppliers too. So there'll be some really interesting negotiation and contract discussions that I'm sure I'll be having with suppliers and with the Travel Leaders Network team to make sure that we're aligned on that for this year.
Any last thoughts on Travel Leaders Network and Avoya Travel before we move on, Ashley?
I just think we're really excited about the opportunity, and like I mentioned before, patience has been a practice that we have all needed to have as we move over. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it's exciting to check some of these things off that we've been working on over the last couple of months. And we have a lot of things that are coming and almost ready to be checked off as well. So really excited about that. Another area I know is talking about the group space, which is very big on cruise, but there's also a lot that they have in the hotel space. And so now that we have that part done, we are also looking at ways to make more commission and have access to special deals and inventory and things like that for FIT, hotels, and resorts. And so that is a large growing part of our business, and we're really excited to be supporting that and pulling that into our booking system as well.
Win-win. Ashley Hunter, Senior Vice President of Partnerships for Avoya Travel, is our featured Avoya Insider guest on today's episode of On Deck with Avoya. Ashley, here we are, almost 1 month into 2023. Time moves fast. How would you say the year has started for Avoya Travel so far?
So I am so excited because it actually feels like a wave season. So for those that are, veteran in this industry, January through March is usually that wave season, and where you're just getting that slew of bookings. Promotions are coming at you left and right, and you're on the phone a lot more than you used to be, just handling new clients. And it's exciting to see that. It's really exciting to see that demand coming back. And I would almost say that there's some years where it doesn't just seem like a wave, it seems like a tsunami, Chris. And I feel like we're getting very close to what I would consider more of a tsunami in a very positive way of just the amount of opportunity and the business that's coming through. And I mean, the numbers that we are seeing come in for sales, even on the weekends and for certain days, are outpacing what our best January has been in company history. And, we have high expectations of ourselves and the bookings that, come in, and it's really exciting to see all of this coming to fruition too. So I don't see it slowing down. I just see it continuing to lift, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting times. And for those of us that have been championing this moment for the last year or so, that you could kind of see where the future was building towards, the fact that we're kind of living some of these bright days are pretty exciting. So what a fantastic update. What about moving forward, Ashley? What do you think are some of the bright spots to look forward to for not only Avoya and the industry, but also what do you think some of the pitfalls that raise concerns, and when we look at the big picture, things that we must avoid if we're going to be ultimately successful, you think, as an overall industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for those that have been in this industry over the last couple of years, and with some suppliers that I've talked to, and with some advisors, there's still this hesitation of being too excited because they're waiting for that shoe to drop. And while I think it's really important that we have our plan B, C, and D, which we have all realized that we need to go all the way down to B, C, and D with some of these, situations over the last couple of years, I also think that we really need to watch that and to celebrate where we are at, because there is an energy about that I think is infectious. I think we should be talking about how busy we are and how big travel is and how much of a comeback, that is, because it will spark that with others. And not to say that, we shouldn't be cautious and have our plans, but let's celebrate the win. I'm really big on celebrating the wins, even if they seem, small, because it builds that confidence in the, community. And so I want us to be shouting from the rooftops a little bit of, yeah, this is great. I mean, I was on with a supplier the other day, and they're like, you know what? Don't worry about the first quarter. We hit our targets already for, January through February departures, start moving on. And it's like, how awesome is it that they were able to have that conversation? And there's others that are saying, you know what, we're going to be opening up deployment early. I was talking to a supplier that they're going to be opening up 2026.
What?
And so, luxury line and more on, the world cruise, but just how further people are thinking about that, or people that are saying, well, we're 80% sold for this year, so that's why we need to be, moving forward. And so I definitely think that we just need to be talking about it and being excited and looking toward, that future. Yes, there's a lot of opportunity that still exists for people to travel in 2023. But I think that for people that are waiting and are waiting for a deal, they're going to run into a space issue. If some suppliers are telling me that they are looking really good, or they only, have 30, percent of their inventory still left for 2023, that means you need to get on the phone with them, pronto.
Sell and sell soon.
Sell and sell soon. Absolutely.
Let's switch gears for a second, Ashley, and talk about, as you said earlier, one of your passions and certainly one of the important aspects for Avoya Travel, events. Because not to brag or anything, but you did promise me an exclusive, kind of a heard it first here scoop today. So let's talk about Avoya 2023 in our calendar for events.
Yes, so we have quite a few. We really believe in continuing with having both virtual and in-person options for advisors, because people join us at different aspects of their career. They live in different places within the country and some in Canada. You know, not everybody can make it to an in-person, but they still want that education and they still want that connection. And we've been told by the independent agencies, by suppliers, by press, that we do such a great job with creating that environment. And so with all of the new independent agencies and the growth that we're seeing, because your team's doing such a phenomenal job, Chris, in bringing in new independent agencies, we are actually having 2 different events that are just dedicated to new to Avoya. And so it's a great opportunity where we are bringing in some of our suppliers that really want to win over those new independent agencies and put that face to a name, really, you know, provide the expertise on here's the differences and here's where we kind of fit in the market. Here's who our ideal client is for those advisors, and to get that name, that contact information, and develop that relationship. So we have one scheduled for April, and then we have another one scheduled for the 4th quarter. But we're also, depending on how many we have come in for new advisors, there's a possibility for us to add some more in if we're getting to that point where we're selling out. So we're really excited to have that type of event just for those newer independent agencies. We did one back in December, and there were some that said, well, I still want to go to this next one because I'm still learning, so can I come into this next one? So we're really looking for anybody that's been with us for about a year or less. So that's one that we have. We are continuing with our land forum. So we started back in Florida. Florida was our first one in 2019, and then we had to move to some virtual ones during a point where we can't travel. But we are excited to be heading down to Puerto Vallarta. It's our first event in Puerto Vallarta in June. I'm happy to say that that event is officially sold out. So we sold out on that, and we doubled the attendance of independent agencies. So there was so much demand that we added more rooms, and to be sold out at this point for an event in June is awesome. And we're still encouraging people to go to the virtual, portion that we have a couple weeks before the in-person event to still get that information and to still network. And we have a wait list, so we'll see what happens there. We're already looking at what do we want to do for 2024. Wow. So that one done. Another one that we have that we're going to be continuing is our luxury forum that we have. That one's virtual as well for this year. So really focusing on that upper end clientele, how to sell luxury, how to add different ancillary pieces to be making, the most that you can as an independent agency. And that will be this summer. We also have a brand new event that we haven't announced yet. So I'm not going to just give you one scoop, Chris. I'm going to give you a couple. So, you got the sold out part of Land Forum. The other one that we have, we're calling it Tech Talk. And really, it's going to be going into more detail on certain booking engines, and for people that really want to understand how to be as efficient as possible with certain suppliers, that will be coming on. So like insurance sales and all of the different pieces and how to do that more from a technological standpoint, really diving into booking engines for VAX, for example, which is a big aggregate for Apple Leisure Group Vacations and some others. So there's a couple of brands that really want to focus on how to be as efficient as possible and how to really navigate the booking engines so that you don't need to spend time calling in to ask a question that could be answered, which would save everybody, time, and just some tips and tricks in there. So we'll be having that one come out this summer. And then we haven't officially announced what our conference is, and that is not a scoop that I can give you, but what I can tell you is that it is on a brand that we have never had a conference on before, and it's to a destination that we have not gone to before.
Hmm. Hmm.
So for some of our veteran independent agencies, that will get them thinking about some things. But we are very excited, and I'm just trying to lock in a contract here in the next week. We might be able to give a scoop to the $1 million producers that are attending our top producers trip next week. So depending on when I get that contract in, we might be able to give that scoop to them first and foremost.
Cool. That's a lot of exciting things coming down the pipe. So we're pretty excited about it. We're chatting with Ashley Hunter, Senior Vice President of Partnerships, today for an exclusive Avoya Insider discussion. Ashley, just a couple of questions left for you, but this is just an open opportunity for you as a longtime travel professional to just offer some advice to the travel industry at large, any tidbit or word of encouragement that you just might think is appropriate to pass along.
I would say that it's always important to keep learning and to keep yourself open to continuing to learn. I mean, if we had stayed stubborn and doing business the way that we did business 15 years ago, Chris, you and I would be out of a job because the things change, things evolve, and I think it's so important to learn new booking systems, learn from others on how they approach business and how they approach sales. Don't close the door on a potential supplier because of who that supplier was, 10 years ago. There's so many brands that have evolved and changed, and we're really excited about some of the things that they have coming out. I personally am sailing, for example. What Carnival has done with some of their brand new ships has been absolutely phenomenal. And I'm going on a family vacation for spring break this year on the new Carnival Mardi Gras. I'm very excited about that. And, the ship that I went on for an inaugural 15 years ago is so different than what this ship is, today. And so it's just really continuing to educate, opening up your eyes to, what is there, and asking questions too, I think is just really, really important. So that's just my philosophy kind of in life. That, Chris, I definitely ask questions. I approach things from a very curious, perspective, and just, seeking to understand, but also just knowing that there's so much that I can still learn and take in to evolve. And I think that's going to be really important for running, a travel business moving forward.
I think we've got a couple of really fantastic bits of advice, throughout your conversation today, Ashley. I love the concept of celebrating the win, because we all work hard, and if you're not going to celebrate the win, why bother? But stay curious and continue to learn and keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on. I mean, it's just so vital. Ashley, before we let you go, I always try to wrap up with this question for my guests. You've kind of covered it in some ways, but let's just point blank ask, are you excited about the long-term viability of leisure travel?
I am so excited about it. I mean, and I know people have been worried about, even my parents, they're like, oh, well, now there's stuff going on with the, economy. And it's like, guys, people are going to want to travel, and people are going to choose how they are going to spend their money. But also, people don't like to be told no. Let's face it, as a human species, we don't really like to be told that no, we can't do something, and can get kind of stubborn about that. And there's a lot of us that were told, no, you can't travel, you can't do some of these things for a while. And so when there's a will, there's a way. And what I was sharing before about where inventory is and how things are selling, there's a lot of opportunity, and I don't see that ending. And there is so many new ships, new resorts, new itineraries that are being built every single day. Like, I'm looking at this trajectory. I serve on a lot of the advisory boards for our suppliers, and I'm looking at what kind of things are coming down the pipeline in the next 5 years. And I am so excited about just what that opens up to everybody in leisure travel, and for us to be able to sell and to be able to experience. I mean, my bucket list is as long as my kids list for Santa, but it's going to be awesome.
Ashley Hunter, everyone, Senior Vice President of Partnerships for Avoya Travel. Ashley, thanks so much for your time and that great discussion today. I hope you have a wonderful trip down to one of my favorite places in the world, Turks and Caicos, and that beautiful beaches resort next week.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for your time. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions for me. And I just really appreciate everything that you and your team does, Chris. And hopefully this was helpful for folks. So hopefully
very much so. Thanks so much. And speaking of Ashley, she's going to be down there at beaches in Turks and Caicos. We're going to be down there. I mean, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be still stuck here in the home office, but our show will in some ways originate from beaches in Turks and Caicos, because we're going to be featuring the Sandals Corporation. We just got word of our good friend David Ridge is going to be joining us. It's our first Meet the Industry segment for 2023. The timing's perfect. It's just exciting, and we can't wait. That's going to be next Thursday as we discuss what's happening there at the Beaches Resort in Turks and Caicos. Find out the latest on Sandals, some of their updates, their philosophy around travel advisors. Next Thursday, our normal time right here for On Deck with Avoya. We certainly can't wait to welcome David onto the show then. So we want to let you know that we've extended our offer, our promotion for those that are experienced travel professionals. We're going to run that at least through the end of February. Don't know the future beyond that. But if you're somebody that last year you posted $100,000 in verifiable gross sales and leisure travel products, cruise and tour and river cruise, all-inclusive vacations, sending people on vacations, then we want to talk to you. We were happy to waive our affiliation fee if you actually qualify for the promotion. We don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings that don't qualify. We have a reason for wanting to do it this way. But for a limited time, we're waiving the affiliation fee. If you reach out to avoyanetwork.com and get the request in, my team will be more than happy to see if you qualify for that and get you the information you need. Welcome you to the Avoya Network. We also continue to have our fantastic veterans discount. While we love this promotion, we're still taking $100 off the affiliation fee. Again, Avoya Network, a lot of details. My team more than happy to fill you in on that. We're about 2 months into it, the new travel agent education powered by Avoya. Boom, is this thing blowing up. Gina Hoyt, who we had on the show in early December, doing an amazing job. And it's because the curriculum is amazing and the added values are amazing. You get the chance to take the TAP test, the travel agency proficiency test. You get memberships in CLIA and in ASTA. Let that sink in for a second. Plus all those bonus commissions that come along with being a CLIA member. You get $100 off the affiliation price to affiliate with Avoya Travel, and you get a leg up on the competition. There's so many people trying to get into the travel industry, and you're going to have a leg up, which is going to translate into more sales. And that's what we're all about, more sales at Avoya Travel, because we have the resources that help you generate more, go beyond your expectations. It's right there, the headline. Unlock your potential for success, right? Live leads, game changer right there. Turnkey marketing assets that can be customized to your branding, support, real support, amazing technology, professional development for days and days. Why you wouldn't reach out is beyond me. So please do. And while you're reaching out, give us a like and a follow and ring the bell and subscribe and all those cool things that happen on social media, because we'd love to stay in touch. We update throughout the week. And of course, that's your best chance to catch all the repeat episodes of On Deck with Avoya as well. So never miss a beat, as they say. And if you want to reach out, as much like Ashley said, it's easy to do so. You can just reach out, Chris.Green, avoyatravel.com. Happy to connect with you, get you connected with one of the members of my team. Give us a call. Get to avoyanetwork.com and do so soon, because you want that information and we want to talk to you. Big thanks again to Ashley Hunter for that great conversation. Annabella did a wonderful job producing our segment today from Trade Marketing. Can't wait to have David Ridge on the show next week. He'll be at beaches in Turks and Caicos. Hopefully you'll join us. Until then, take care, everyone. Have a great week.